Welcome. I'm your host, Nicole Burnett. Welcome to the Resilient Rainer podcast. Thank you so much for being here. I am truly grateful for you. Yes, you. I'm grateful to you for being here, for spending some of your precious time with me and with yourself to invest in yourself. And I'm glad you're here. Leveling up is so messy. People say it gets worse before it gets better. It gets darkest before the dawn, and it can feel overwhelming and scary and like you just might as well give up. So today I'm going to share with you 10 clear signs that you have leveled up or you're in the process of leveling up to give you that encouragement and inspiration to keep going, that you're on the right track, even when it feels like things are crazy.
Welcome to the Resilient Rainer, the premier podcast focused on mental performance for equestrians and improved horse show performance. Whether you're a rookie reiner or a seasoned competitor, this show is for riders who want to take their skills to the next level and achieve their full potential in the show ring. I'm Nicole Burnett, and I'm a master mindset coach who's obsessed with helping you achieve all those horse dreams you always thought were impossible. Join me each week to develop a show-ready mindset and gain the competitive edge you need to compete with confidence.
Well, welcome everybody. Let's chat about it. 10 clear signs that you have leveled up as a rider, that you are in the process. So welcome. I'm Nicole Burnett, host of the Resilient Rainer podcast. And I'm inspired for today's chat because leveling up is really messy. Improvement is so messy. It's messy, right? There are so many just kind of sayings around this, that it's darkest before the dawn, that it gets worse before it gets better. And it's so easy to lose faith, to just feel like you've turned into a crap rider. And so I wanted to share 10 really just clear signs that you have leveled up, that you're in the process of leveling up. I know that you've experienced these before. And so let this be inspiration for you, that if you recognize any of these, keep going. All right. So all of this stuff with horses is kind of like a game, right? So my kids love video games or if you love board games, but it's like a game, all of this horsemanship stuff. And once you've mastered a certain level, you can decide if you want to move on to the next level. And for most folks, they get comfortable at a certain stage. And so then they just start hanging out there and they're pretty happy with what they've achieved in their horsemanship, but they're not quite ready to do better. They're not quite ready to level up because there's that inner acknowledgement that if you want to do better, it usually requires more from you. And so instead of leveling up, there's a lot of, to use a video game parlance, you do some side quests. All right. And, it can be fun, but when you level up as a rider, just like when you level up in a video game, your quests get harder and harder. But at the same time, while it's initially more challenging, it's only temporarily more challenging because you get better too, right? You acclimate to that more difficult level. And it's in this spot, right, where you're at a new level, you're competing at a higher level, you're becoming a better rider, that it's more challenging. And it's so common at this point that pretty much like it can feel like everything has just been thrown out the window. You lose confidence. You're questioning if you have what it takes. You question all of a sudden if this is what you really want. I see this a lot with both friends and clients, that they're like, I don't know if I want to do this. I don't know if this is for me. And all of a sudden it feels like your foundation has just kind of crumbled. But what's so crazy about all of this is that even you can be feeling all of those, but I guarantee that you've already been through all of this before because you have leveled up in the past, right? You're where you are now. Are you better than you were before? Of course. Absolutely. There's no doubt. And so you've gotten to where you are now. You've done the hard work. You've battled to get where you are, and you know what that success feels like. And this rough patch, absolutely, this is for better or for worse. This is necessary for every level that you go through as you progress as a rider and progress in your horsemanship. And the good news is that it doesn't last as long as you think. And eventually you get better and better at this. And so, what are these signs, right? So, the biggest sign, the first one I'll talk about is just you lose confidence for a period of time. If you've had success in the past, if, with your horse, or if you have a new horse with yourself, but then for some reason you feel like you're kind of off course, off pattern, this is a sign that you've probably just leveled up and you don't realize it. It's all about consistent work, right? That's how we get better. And so if you consistently are riding your horse, if you're consistently training your mind, you're going to get better. It's just like the same thing. If you consistently are eating foods that, don't fuel your body, you're not going to feel very good. And because you respond to the inputs. And so everything in life, it gets better as you get better. As you improve, you become more confident, more competent, more successful. You're going to be more sure of your ability. And the more aware you get too, you're going to be aware of the things that you haven't yet mastered. Everything that is all of a sudden you're aware of what the next level is for you. And when you go on that journey to master the next level, because now you can see it, you're going to feel like a beginner again. You're going to feel like you don't know shit. And you have to figure out the rules of this new level. And you're going to make a bunch of mistakes. And you no longer have all the answers at this new level. And that's going to make your confidence drop. But know that that is so normal. That is the process. And when you realize that, it's like, that's a clue. You've just leveled up. So, okay. Second clue. If you feel like everything is just kind of falling apart. I know that before I had a big breakthrough in my riding, I went through many months where I wasn't really riding much at all. I knew that I was capable of riding really well, but I was just stuck. I just felt like everything was kind of crashing down, and I was not like mentally, it was not good. And it felt like everything was just kind of falling apart. And then when I couldn't ignore it any longer, that pushed me to flip a switch. All I kept thinking was, okay, let's give it a try. What do I have to lose? Right? Like it would be challenging for it to be worse than it is right now. And there was so much clarity for me when, like, what have I got to lose? I know what I need to do, and I'm not afraid to try it. And this clarity was so helpful. And just that fearlessness of being willing to try things that I hadn't tried before. So that was part of, for me, trying new things, trying all sorts of crazy things. It was like, okay, I'm going to try some meditation. I'm going to try visualization. I'm going to try tapping. I'm going to try, breathing exercises. And all of this progress for me, it only happened after many months of despair. And this leveling up, it came at a time when I was facing some of my most difficult challenges. And I want to challenge you and invite you that when the stakes are high for you, it can bring out the best in you. If your situation can force you to invest in yourself, that can be a useful perspective that success is the only way out, that it's not that you can stay, but that leveling up, being, having it work is the only way that you're going to get what you want. But it can really feel like things are falling apart because it's a new level of pressure, right? If you're like, oh my gosh, this is the only option. Like, what was that Eminem song? Success is the only option, right? A few swear words in there too. But it's a lot of pressure. And it's a period where you have to get over so many fears and really embrace it. And it'll feel like things are falling apart. And as part of that, that's really the third thing here is that you're going to question what you really want. And again, I've seen this with myself. I've seen this over and over with clients where you're wondering if this path that you've chosen is where you want to go. And you feel really disoriented and you're like, oh my gosh, do I want this? Do I even want to do reining anymore? Maybe I want to do ranch riding. Screw it. I want to go camping in the backcountry. You're like, what do I want? And it's during these moments where you're questioning everything. This is when it's so key to have rituals and ways to connect with yourself so that you can have clarity. Because I am all about empowerment. And I always tell my clients too, this is your journey. Whatever you want to do with your horse, that's amazing. Like, that's great. And you get to be in charge. You are in the driver's seat of your life. You are in the driver's seat of what you do with your horse. And so, whatever you need to do, if that's doing meditation, prayer, reading books, but having something that you can use to get that clarity within yourself and not doing it for your trainer, not doing it for your friends, not doing it for your spouse, but getting that clarity on what do you want? And so there's so many people that they've never really thought about what they actually want. So you're going to feel lost. And the clarity that you thought you had before can just vanish. This is very disheartening, but it is only a phase. Okay. Fourth sign that you're leveling up is just that success, you know, it can come at a cost. And there are things that you might need to sacrifice, prices that you might need to pay. That can be time, that can be money, that can be whatever it is. But, the more you go up the ladder, there's not always other people that are in your sphere who are willing to make those same trade offs and make those same sacrifices. And that can feel really lonely. I do want to point out that just because you're willing to make whatever sacrifice, it doesn't mean that you're better than anybody else. And if you're not willing to make that trade-off, it doesn't mean that you're worse than anybody else. We all get to make those trade-offs of what we're willing to do or not do. And it's very important to maintain your relationships along the way. So basically, just that even when you're feeling lonely, make time to just nurture your relationships, nurture your connections. And the reason this is so key is that it reminds me of the story of Icarus, where you fly too close to the sun and you don't want your success to be your downfall. So get clarity within yourself, but also, stay connected with your inner circle because you're going to need support. Nobody succeeds in a vacuum. Nobody truly succeeds on their own. You are in an ecosystem. Maintain your support and be grateful for all the people in your life, right? Okay. So, fifth sign you're leveling up is just that it's kind of a feeling of dissociation or a lack of inspiration, and you might feel really disconnected. You used to be so excited. Maybe even you lost sleep about an upcoming event or a certain thing with your horse. And then it just doesn't inspire you in the same way anymore. It's hard to stay focused. It's hard to get in the groove in a ride. And you just kind of don't give a shit. And you might feel a little numb. This is a really interesting part of the journey because it's not that you don't care anymore. It's that you have I like to think of it as you're at the point of becoming unconsciously competent. And sorry, the light is coming in my window. It's so bright. But becoming unconsciously competent is such a really cool part of the process of leveling up, right? Where you cue so many times that all of a sudden you can pick up the correct diagonal without even thinking about it, right? And your brain is developing this sense of mastery. So if things don't inspire you anymore, it can also be a sign that you're ready you're ready for new challenges, right? Because you're developing enough mastery that your brain is starting to kind of tune out a little bit. So your brain is saying like, yeah, I've got this. And so that's actually a sign that you're ready for more. You're ready for the next level. And related to that would be the sixth thing, like, are you just kind of going through the motions and your muscle memory is just doing it, but you're doing it, but you don't really feel like your heart is in it. And so you might just not even care if you're really successful. It might even feel boring because you don't have that alignment with your motivation and with your why. And so that's a good point to check in of like, where are you at? If you're not in alignment anymore, that's a good sign that you've leveled up, that you're further along. You're in a different point in your journey now. Okay. The seventh one. Do you ever notice if you're making mistakes, but the mistakes seem out of character for you? They're out of character for you as a person, for you as a rider, and you feel like you might have moved past that. Things that like maybe used to feel really easy for you, now they're feeling harder. Your confidence kind of drops because you're making these stupid mistakes. A lot of times this can happen when you've leveled up because you're pushing your limits and you can't see the transformations that's happened inside of you. Again, if you're not challenging yourself at the appropriate level, you're going to start making silly mistakes and you might be thinking about bigger things. And so you're not fully present in the same way when you're not pushing yourself at your appropriate edge. So if you've missed that you've leveled up, you won't be pushing yourself at what's an appropriate edge for you. And so related to that, that's the ripe opportunity for distractions to pop up, right? And opportunities can pop up. Like the better you get as a rider, there's going to be lots of opportunities to do new and different things with your horse. So this is one where, again, it's important to reconnect with yourself and what your goals are. If you just want to enjoy yourself, enjoy your horse, I'm a huge fan of that because the more fun you have with your horse, the more you're going to be motivated to go do the work to be successful. All right. But just the distractions. And so it's really good to reconnect to yourself, reconnect to what are your goals, because you can feel like you're aimlessly floating around and you're like, let's go do this, let's go do that. And it's because if you've mastered the challenges at your current level, all of a sudden everything can feel like these shiny new things. Okay. And then, so it's 8. So when I talk more about your why, where it's really about you've got to reconnect with your why. You've got to reconnect with your own motivation. If you want everything that you're going through to all of that pressure that you're feeling internally, externally, if you want to help it level you up, make you a better rider. There's that saying about a pressure makes diamonds. And so you've got to be connected to your why. So the question to ask yourself is, why did you start doing this in the first place? Why are you riding? Why are you spending time with horses? Why do you care about the goals that you've set for yourself? Why do you care about cows, barrels, reining, ranch riding? Why do you care about that? Why is that the thing that you've chosen? And when you reconnect to your why, when you ask yourself, why did I start doing this? And go ahead and ask yourself that a couple more times. Like, don't just stop at the first time, but why did you start doing this? And the more you dial in on that, it's going to make it easy to dial into what you really want to do and to say no to all those things that are just distractions. And because you do, that's one of the like uncomfortable things about getting better is that you have to say no to a lot. And FOMO is real. It's hard to say, no, I'm not going to that show. No, I'm not doing that thing. No, I'm not, whatever it is. No, I'm doing this other thing. I'm riding my horse or I'm spending time with my family. Whatever it is, the more you've dialed in on your why, the easier it is to say yes to the right things and no to all of those shiny, sexy distractions that are always a part of life. Okay. And the 10th sign here that you're leveling up as a rider or you've just leveled up is that you're going to have an adjustment and growth can happen really fast. And it's super normal to be scared of growing and scared of improving because you recognize, at least unconsciously, that you're going to have new challenges. And that's scary because you don't really know what they are yet. You haven't done it before. And the thing is, once you experience it, you adjust and you're going to have new opportunities and new experiences, perspectives, and that newness is going to become your new normal. And to really like level up, you have to be extreme consistency. Extreme consistency is necessary. And so a big thing is that you're going to have a switch when you're ready and something is going to feel different. It's going to feel so clear when you've dialed in your why. And you might even feel like, oh my gosh, how did I ever used to be confused? It's just everything is so clear to me now. And so you start operating at your new level, at your new reality. And it's kind of like, I still, and this was decades ago, but I remember desperately trying to understand leads and posting in the correct diagonal, right? And you're like, I'm watching and I'm trying to figure out leads. I remember being a little kid. I still have that because emotionally you're like, you're like 10 and you're like, what is leads? What is that? And then once you see it, you can never unsee it, right? Or another silly example was because I grew up and nobody wants to talk about horse genitalia. So it's like, how do I tell if this is a mare or a gelding? And people would be like, oh, they would just tell. And like, I was so sweet and innocent as a child. I was the sweetest, naivest, innocent thing. And I honestly could not figure out how people knew if it was a mare or gelding. I was that sweet and innocent. But then once you know, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, I see it. And that's just a very basic example of leveling up, right? Everything is different now. Everything is clear. And sometimes it just takes a while for reality to catch up. So those are 10 clear signs for you that you have leveled up as a rider or you are in the process. You've absolutely experienced these before. And I know that this has just been so encouraging for you because I know that the process of leveling up is so messy, is so uncomfortable, and you can feel like everything is going wrong and you just don't know what you're doing anymore. And so I really want you to hear that good, good. That means you're doing it right. Okay. So you're doing it right. Well, thanks so much for being here, guys. I love hanging out with you, and I sure appreciate each and every one of you. So thanks for being here, and we'll talk again soon. If you love this episode, share it with a friend. If you hate this episode, share it with an enemy. If this is your jam, guys, come join us in Resilient Rainer Academy, your step-by-step Lego manual for unshakable confidence in the saddle so that you can start crushing your riding goals in no time. I absolutely know this is going to work for you. I offer a money-back guarantee and cannot wait to have you join us and start leveling up as a rider. And use code podcast for 10% off because you guys are my favorite. Happy trails.